Before starting our last panel discussion here at the Skills Development for Smart Specialization Conference, I would like to once again call your attention to the live coverage that we have on LinkedIn for this conference. For our on-site participants, I would like to remind you that there is a QR code on your badge. If you scan that, you will land on the LinkedIn page of the conference, where we share all the information about the panels, about the speakers. And for our online participants, you can find Skills Development for Smart Specialization page on the LinkedIn. And now it's my pleasure to call the participants of our last panel discussion to the stage. I'm inviting the moderator, David Jelinek, and our panelists, Dr. László Csurgai-Horváth, Dr. Emmanuel Pajot, and Ms. Ilaria Tagliavini.
Great, great. So good afternoon, everybody. I hope that you are not in a food coma after an excellent lunch that we just had. And I would like to welcome you to, as presented by the organizers, last panel discussion of this conference, which will be around space and transferable skills for the space sector. And I'm here, as already introduced, my name is David Jelinek. I work in the European Commission in Directorate General for Defense Industry and Space. And more specifically, I work in a unit responsible for space innovation, new space and space defense, where I have the skills dossier for the space sector. Among others, I also work on Cassini, which maybe some of you are familiar with, and I also work as DEFIS youth correspondent, so I mainstream youth issues in DG DEFIS. And today I'm here with Ilaria Tagliavini, with László Csurgai-Horváth, and with Emmanuel Pajot. I will let them introduce themselves and their institutions right after I have a bit of opening remarks from my side. To open and to welcome you in the space sector, studies and mapping exercises show that there is certain competence-based challenges in the space sector, and to name some of them, the workforce in the space sector is aging. It's not very diverse, so approximately 70 or 75% of the workforce is male, so this is a big challenge for the space sector. We have also limited business and academia collaboration, which is also important for the sector to be a bit more successful and a bit more dynamic. Among others, we also have a bit of a tension between the emerging new space companies, which attract a lot of employees, let's say, by being flexible, by being dynamic, and there is a challenge let's say, almost a fight with the legacy industry that struggles to retain the talent in their companies, and this creates strange dynamics because a lot of people coming from the legacy industry is actually creating the startups, and then they fight for the talent to work for them. As was highlighted in recently published Draghi's report or Niinisto report, the skills and competencies are really a key for European preparedness and European competitiveness. And I know that the Hungarian presidency recognized this challenge, and they decided to go for council conclusions as a part of its priorities for space sector. And these council conclusions were adopted last week on Friday, actually. So now you're invited, of course, to have a look at them, but just to highlight a few things from it. Really, the member states of the European Union recognize the importance of reinforcing competencies. They really want to foster a holistic approach, so really integrating technical, strategic, regulatory, diplomatic, business side of the sector. And other things, for example, they really stress the need for predictable and competitiveness environment in space. So they want to attract investment by being really legally clear and also get rid of unnecessarily administrative burden for the companies. And considering that, my last point, in the European Commission, we already have a few initiatives to address these challenges. And to name some of them, we have the Space Career Launchpad, launched very recently, where companies are invited to post their internships and entry-level jobs. And students and young graduates are invited to go there and to maybe find a career in space. But the main idea behind it is that you don't have to be an aerospace engineer to work in the space sector. We really want to show that this is a welcoming sector, it's emerging, and we really need people who will do finance, who will do HR, who will do business, etc. So we really want to show that this is not space is not a niche sector anymore for geeks, if I say it like that. It's really an emerging sector that needs diverse workforce. We also organize Cassini hackathons in every semester, 10 different locations at the same time. So we kind of support this networking between the participants, where we define a challenge and we invite the participants to solve the challenge while using space data. And if you have an interesting company or organization that would be able to organize it, I invite you to have a look at cassini.eu and maybe you can apply and organize this hackathon. Among others, we are also working now on Cassini space camps, which will be targeted at children, teenagers or young adults from 14 to 18, to spark the interest in the space sector, to really support them to foster a career or in the space sector. So really the message behind it is that these initiatives needs to be maximized and extended further, and we need to address the capacity building using holistic approach. So really starting with children and young adults, continuing through young graduates and professionals, but also not forgetting, as was also mentioned during previous presentations or discussions, teachers and public administration personnel, because these people also need to be able to pass the knowledge and the expertise. And with that, I would like to continue to our panelists. I'll sit, if you allow me, and I would like to ask Ilaria to introduce herself and to tell us a bit more about EIT and what you do there. If the microphone doesn't work.
How to switch it on?
Yeah, it's already.
It's already working.
Okay,
oh, great! I thought I had to push a button, but okay. So, well, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for having me here. My name is Ilaria Tagliavini, and I am head of operations at the EIT, European Institute of Innovation and Technology, here in Budapest. I joined actually 1 year ago. So it was quite a shock. I was coming from the private sector and joining a public institution for the first time, but it's a fascinating experience. At the EIT, I am responsible for innovation, education programs, and communication.
Thank you. Dr. László, please.
Thank you. So, good afternoon. My name is László Csurgai-Horváth. I'm the local representative of the universities, maybe. I'm working at the Budapest University of Technology and Economics, especially at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Informatics. And I'm responsible for the recently started space engineering program, master program at the university. Otherwise, I'm electrical engineer and my specialty is space communication, so I'm partly working as a researcher and partly working as organizer of the master education activity. So, thanks.
Thank you so much, László, and Emmanuel, please.
Emmanuel Pajot. I am the Secretary General of the European Association of Remote Sensing Company, EARSC Trade Association, based in Brussels. I am geologist by training. I stepped in Earth observation during my master degree. I was involved in the private sector, in the energy sector, and I explore the public affairs since 2017 when I arrived at EARSC. And EARSC is a trade association representing 137 companies in 25 countries in Europe, representing the Earth observation downstream, so the company who are delivering data services to users.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you to all of you. I would like to, let's say, discuss three topics during this panel, one of them being emerging needs of the space sector, the second one transferable skills for the space sector, and we finish with challenges and opportunities. And I would like to ask you if you mention any abbreviation to explain what's hiding behind, so that the audience is involved, and also please feel free to comment, to collaborate, whatever you feel like to have our discussion a bit more lively, let's say. So to address the first topic, as I mentioned, emerging needs in the space sector. And the space sector is very rapidly growing. The number of innovative startups and SMEs is very, very rising, and space data are slowly but surely becoming a mainstream. So I would like to ask to EARSC, to Emmanuel, from the industry perspective, what are the key skills required for working effectively in the space, and how to ensure that these skills are being developed and upskilled?
Yes, thank you. So that's true that the Earth observation downstream industry is progressing very well. EARSC is publishing every year now an industry survey where we capture the number of companies, number of employees, and the revenues. And after the lockdown, we saw a short decrease, but then we are back to before the pandemic, meaning that we have a 10.5% growth per annum in this downstream industry. So really interesting, really shiny. I would say normal if we work on space, but I would say we have to be a bit cautious about this because we as well have to face with different kind of pressure. The ecosystem is growing, an increase of about 3% of companies every year, which is good. But we have to deal with the difficulty of companies to hire. So, of course, it's not a surprise. Earth observation is really technical. I will not say it's a techno-push, but it's really technical. The core skills which are needed in order to deliver services are really about computer programming, coding, and so on. Analytical analysis as well, cartography, and mapping visualization. But more and more, the Earth observation industry is moving, evolving. I will not say it's more professional, but it has to evolve because the users are evolving as well. And as you correctly say, more and more markets currently are more open to integrate space-based solution into the processes. So nowadays, there is a lot of evolution. And the first one, I would say, is really about the business part. How can we, especially when you are a startup, develop case studies that will and a business model that will help you to be sustainable? So this is something that companies are looking for a lot. We have, of course, some deep tech. I don't really want to focus too much on this on purpose. Of course, AI and machine learning is really trendy. It's an important activity. But I would focus on the other one, engagement with the different user communities is super important. And this is where currently companies really want to develop their capabilities, their skills, because it is a real challenge. We have to open doors, and this is where the company currently wants to expand. Expand in Europe, yes, it's important, but expand as well out of Europe. So this is where the cultural aspect step into the picture, and a lot of different approaches, so non-technical, have to be implemented in order to facilitate this uptake.
Thank you for much this. Thank you very much for this. I think that it kind of mirrors the state that of maturity of the space sector, that it's slowly maturing into needing a bit more scaling up, and which requires different types of personnel. And I would like to ask László, from the university perspective, how are universities adapting their curricula to address these emerging trends, as elaborated by Emmanuel, and what initiatives are implemented to ensure the necessary skill?
Okay, so it's a quite different question, but so anyway, we started, or we had an idea in Hungary in 2019 to start a space engineering program in Hungary, because it was not existing in a higher education. So, and then it was a lot of work, of course, but we started the space engineering program at our university in 2022, and just during this summer graduated the first series of our students. But before starting the program, we had to overview a lot of other countries, what they are doing, how they are doing, what kind of subjects they are teaching, and so on and so on, because we wanted to create a program for the university students that is similar to other similar programs all over the world. And so you know that here in Hungary, and also almost everywhere in Europe, we are teaching in a Bologna system. So there is a BSc level of technical education and a master level as well. So our curricula is a master level. That means that 2 years, 4 semesters. So these are our borders, and we have to include everything within 4 semesters. That is not so much. And before we started to develop our master program, we discussed with a lot of companies here in Hungary what they require, what are their requirements, and what are the expectations against the students. And so we hope so that our program fits the requirement of the industry, and we suppose that it is not so bad, because when our students graduated during this summer, then within 1 week they got a job in a different company. So I suppose that it is not so bad. And of course we need to develop continuously our subjects and our curricula, and maybe later we will have some opportunity to talk about this, maybe a little bit deeper, but so I suppose that we fit the requirements of the industry.
That sounds very good. Thank you, László, to see that you are reflecting the needs of the industry, and you already are able to send your absolvents to work, so they are job ready. Just one follow-up question, because as already elaborated a bit, that space is very international domain. Is the program in Hungary somehow, or in your university, sorry, somehow reflecting this international dimension, or is it in Hungarian or in English?
Yes, it's a very good question. So our initial idea was to start this program in English, but because of some reasons, now the program is in Hungarian language, so students from outside cannot join, or they should learn Hungarian and then they can join, but it is not so simple. So anyway, but it is in our plan to modify the education system into English language, because I know that there are several countries who would like to send students to us. Actually, that's the fact, that it is in Hungarian. And I forgot to tell you previously, but this is space engineering program and not aerospace engineering. So this is 2 different things, but it should be mentioned that it is space engineering.
Thank you so much. Very interesting. And I would like to turn to Ilaria to ask, because you are not really from the space background as we all are. So I would like to ask you, how can EIT contribute to addressing these needs that were already highlighted, and how to addressing these skills needs in other sectors that could inspire space? You know, so the lessons learned for space from other sectors that you are more familiar with, that you have the kicks in EIT. So could you elaborate on that, and what initiatives for supporting of transferable skills are there in EIT?
Of course. Thanks a lot for the question. Well, let me say maybe first a few words about what is the EIT. The EIT is an ecosystem builder, basically. In the past 15 years, we have been building the biggest, the widest European innovation ecosystem, and connecting more than 2,400 partners across Europe, coming from the three key areas that are business, education, and research. And this is pretty unique, because of course, these are the actors that, joining their forces together, can create innovation. Now, the EIT here in Budapest is the ecosystem orchestrator, but as a matter of fact, we have 9 knowledge and innovation communities spread across Europe that are very much focused, each one of them, to one societal challenge. So, for example, we have EIT Digital, we have EIT Food, Health, and so on and so forth. And very soon we will be joined by an additional kick. There will be the water kick next year. A little bit of just a few numbers of impact so far. We are supporting today almost 10,000 startups, newly created businesses, that have managed to raise more than 17 billion in additional money from private and public funding. So pretty good results there. But also we have been training 800,000 learners so far in all the different fields. Now, as you can imagine, education, together with business creation and innovation, is at the core of the EIT mission. And I would say that EIT education, because a lot of other EU instruments do education, but EIT education has 2 key unique features. The first one is the fact that we are focused on innovation and entrepreneurship. So we do combine always these elements to whatever technical skills are needed in the specific sector. This is key. We aim to give to students, giving to students a multidisciplinary education in such a way that they are able really to understand not only how technically from a technology point of view, from content point of view, but also how they can manage to create innovation, to set up a business. Okay? And this is now becoming so much important at all levels and in all different sectors. The second key aspect is the fact that the deep understanding and know-how that our KICs, knowledge and innovation community, have of their own respective sector allow them to really make that skills granular intelligence that is needed to be able to say, okay, these are the kind of education programs that we need, and therefore to transform that know-how, those insights, into pioneering education programs. Now, at the EIT, we do quite a lot of different education initiatives, but I would like today to share with you something that I think can be very interesting to the specific topic of today. There are our skills academies. Skills academies are initiatives, education programs that have been set up in order to, with the objective of upskilling and reskilling workers in specific sectors. To give you a few examples, a couple of years ago we started with the European Battery Academy to upskill and reskill workers in the battery value chain. A key top priority a policy priority at European level. As a matter of fact, these academies are actually sponsored by different commission services, but then are implemented by the EIT. Another couple of examples, we launched just this summer the Solar Academy that has the objective of upskilling and reskilling 80,000 workers in the next couple of years. And we will be launching very soon, beginning of next year, 2 new academies. There are the Raw Materials Academy and the Advanced Material Academy, with the ambition of skilling 300,000 workers in the 2 sectors in the next 2 years. So, why am I sharing this with you? Well, because at the EIT we have developed a specific know-how in skills intelligence, first of all, which is key in order to understand the needs of industry, skills mapping at a very granular level and a geographical level even, and a methodology to implement and deploy large-scale training programs on all the different in all the different sectors. So this is, what we do, and why not? Maybe a next step could be a space academy.
Excellent. Thank you so much for explaining this. And if I may react, so I come from Czech Republic, where we have regions that struggle a bit because they were heavily dependent, for example, on mining, on coal mining. And now the mines are empty, or there is no, let's say, will of continuing with this. So would you recommend these regions basically to turn to you and to try to, let's say, shift the dependence or the focus of the region from coal mining to something a bit more, let's say, advanced materials or solar panels or something like this? So this is the EIT initiative is basically targeted at this situation, right? If I understand correctly.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the key point here is to look at each specific European region and to do that skill mapping and profiling that is needed in order to really deploy the training program that makes sense for the region. We will be launching soon also Raw Materials Academy. So who knows? Of course, it needs to be analyzed, and we need to see in that region what makes sense.
Thank you so much. So I see a connection with the topic of this conference, the smart specialization, that is very much in line with what you do in EIT. So now to go to the second part of the transferable skills. I know that we already touched it a bit, but let's dig a bit deep into this topic, because space, as already I think apparent, is very specific, because it not only requires space-related skills and knowledge, but also other sectors that, for example, if you have an application that works in the agriculture industry, not only you need to know how the space industry works or the space sector, but also the agriculture, and that goes far beyond agriculture. We go to maritime, we go to forestry, etc. So this really is something specific for the space sector. So I would like to ask one question to all of you, and feel free to answer how you feel. So which skills from other sectors are becoming crucial for space, and how do we ensure that the space skills are also transferable? Up to you, who feels...
Okay, so I can start at least. Yes, you're absolutely right. The fact that Earth observation is not focused on its own approach, by definition, we need to understand the user needs in a really concrete way, much even than before. And the challenge is first to really address the definition on the vocabulary of the users, on the service providers. So this is the first item. We call it taxonomy, and this is something that we have to work a lot. And the issue is that we do not have to leverage one market, but we have currently to leverage let's say, 20 market. Fragmentation of the demand is really important. And so for the SMEs, which are currently creating the space industry in Europe, and 96% of companies in downstream of space are SMEs, and even have lower than 20 people. So it's really a challenge. So there's this need to align the vocabulary. And the second aspect is really to collect from the user what is really the specificity of the value chain. So really a deep understanding of the different components of the activity. I come from the energy, for example. The value chain of the energy is really complex, really rich, diverse. You have the exploration part, you may have the maintenance and the operation, or you have the decommissioning, for example. And each time the services will be different. Each time the user will be different. So you need to identify who will be the user, what are the approaches, how can they integrate this capability. So you need to speak with them and you need to involve them. And how to do so. We had different activities. Some are really sponsored by the European Space Agency. That's called best practices, where really we do this matchmaking and we share knowledge. And so it really helps to support the awareness of the current capability, to illustrate that space is not something which is research only, it's really operational. And then we need to make sure that they will be able to integrate this. So we need to identify what kind of standards they will need to integrate and think. And this is where we can provide a lot of knowledge to them, but for sure they contribute as much significantly in this discussion, this dialogue.
Thank you so much. Very interesting. I had two ideas during your contribution. So I would like to invite you also to use SPA Market Report, which is published every 2 years, where you can have a look a bit more into depth what kind of sectors we were talking about, because this really, I think, 18 or 20 different sectors really described in a bit more depth. And I also wanted to ask for you to elaborate a bit, because you mentioned the taxonomy, and I know that EARSC, your association, is part of the Space for Geo Large-Scale Skills Partnership. So if you can maybe tell a bit more about that.
Absolutely. I think the activity started in 2021 with a project funded by the European Commission, and it was EU for Geo initially, and then it turned into an alliance. And this alliance, Space for Geo, is a large-scale skill partnership with about 70 entities from 90 countries in Europe. And this is really gold, because we have university, we have public sector representative, we have private sector representative as well, all together, in order to understand what we have to do in order to make sure that Earth observation skill will be available in the close future. So we discuss the different curricula, the approaches that should be implemented in order to bridge the gap between the students and the need of the industry.
Thank you so much. So I'll turn to other speakers. Just to repeat the question, it's about transferable skills from other sectors used in the space sector.
Okay, so I try to continue it. So everybody knows that space and research activity on the Earth is always connected, and what we are doing, researchers here, then it is used in the space, or what is already tested in the space, then later comes to the Earth. And so there are several sectors in the Earth applications that is already used in space. So I would like to mention something that, like everybody knows, that communication is very important in our life. So radio communication that we are using here is already absolutely necessary in space. So because without communication, we cannot communicate with our satellites. So communication is very important. Earth observation, as already mentioned, it is a second very big issue that it is necessary, and it is connected to meteorology. So everybody knows the weather forecasts every day, and we know that the data are coming from the satellites usually. The third, maybe we can mention that the navigation systems, so GNSS systems, every day we are using, we have navigation systems in our cars and in our phone and everywhere. And we should mention also the defense, so this is a fourth issue, maybe very important, but usually at university we do not deal with such issue, but defense is very important as well. So, relating to the transfers, I would like to mention that the European Space Agency has a pressure for the industry, for the researchers that transfer the skills that are developed for space, transfer to the everyday life. We had also an opportunity at our university that we developed a satellite communication device for a satellite program, and then later we changed it to an Earth application, and it was a successful technology transfer program. And nowadays, maybe you know that 5G and then even 6G mobile phone systems are developed, and these will go also to the satellites. So the mobile communication industry is strongly connected with satellite industry.
Thank you very much, and also thank you for mentioning the defense angle of space, because there is a huge potential of defense applications in space, and this is really something in the political priorities, let's say, to foster a bit the dual use of space technologies. So I'm sure that we will hear more about it. And now I'd like to turn to Ilaria to tell us a bit more, because we now had the point of view from insider. So from outsider, what the other sectors can contribute to the space sector.
Absolutely, and you know what we see dealing with several different sectors is that they have all evolved in the past 10, 15 years in the same directions, meaning skills are more and more transversal, as much as technologies are more and more transversal. And, you know, this can be solved only with a cross-industry approach, giving people a multidisciplinary background, but also allowing companies to really collaborate with each other, companies from different sectors. And what we are experiencing at the EARSC, and actually what we foster, is for example, the collaboration across KICs, because this is, at the end of the day, the IT is an ecosystem of ecosystems, and this is the beauty of it, because we see even more value in the projects that we call cross-KIC projects, because we actually do quite a lot of projects that are EIT community, meaning they involve all the KICs working together. We see even more value in these projects because they lead to a cross-fertilization of skills, of needs, of technologies than in the vertical, let's say, ecosystem themselves. So, you know, I think all the sectors can actually benefit from this. And if I look at space, and if I think about the existing KICs, for example, you were mentioning deep tech. Well, EIT Digital is all about that. I'm sure it could give, you know, incredible input to that, or data science. Think about EIT Health and, you know, health data management importance for astronauts and for these other aspects, biotechnologies. If I think about EIT Food and the nutritional part of you know, space communities in the future, or astronauts themselves. So there are so many, I can name them all, but at the end of the day, all of these communities, I'm sure, could give you know, skills and know-how that could be extremely beneficial to the space sector.
Thank you so much. Really, I think that this panel is already very fruitful. I'm getting a lot of insights. And now I would like to move to the third and last part of our panel, the challenges and opportunities in the space sector. So space, as I said, or as we all said, faces many challenges in terms, but not exclusively, but in terms of talent acquisition. So I would like to ask maybe first to Emmanuel again, from the industry perspective, what do you see as the key challenges and opportunities, and how can we ensure that they are being addressed?
Yeah. Yes. The difficulty to hire is for 80% of the company a key issue, and it's at the whole industry scale, it is a second barrier to growth. So it's really a high priority. The difficulty is that there is still a lack of awareness on what space is about, and especially downstream. Everybody heard about SpaceX, for example, so everybody heard about Ariane and so on. So the launchers, manufacturing side is something which is catchy, shiny, and people are interested. But when we talk about downstream services, in order to support farmers to better monitor their crops, in order to forest manager to understand what are the pest disease, about security, about floods, about earthquake, and so on, then people are not aware. It starts to change, but it's really slow. So first, I think there is really an awareness and so an attractivity as well. Because for all what is about the deep tech, a lot of other industry are competing for the same people. So we need to show, and this is where I think we have in the Earth observation downstream a lot of potential, and I see a lot of opportunities. Because when we talk about climate change, climate adaptations, a lot of people and the youth want to be active, want to make something which is sound for the future. So I think about the Sustainable Development Goals, for example, Earth observation can be a key enabler. So we can really develop different activities regarding this. Of course, digitalization is something that may help as well to change some practices. If you before had to go in the field in order to monitor things, it took you a lot of time, and your productivity, in fact, will be a small percentage of what you can do currently with Earth observation monitoring techniques. So these approaches, digitalization and climate change, are really driver for the future.
Thank you so much. I also think that you mentioned very important thing, and that is the attractiveness of the space sector, because in reality, it seems as a very attractive when you say, you know, you attract kids with, you can become an astronaut, you can really fly to space, but you know, practically no one will fly there. So it is very easy to spark the interest, to have a dream, and I think that it's almost obligatory for every child to have some kind of stars and, you know, these kind of things of becoming an astronaut. But in the end, it's not going to happen. But this is not what space is about, because there's much more potential of just becoming an aerospace engineer, as outlined by Emmanuel, to use the space data, which there is a vast use of this, and this is really also fostering innovation and creativity. So I think that this is a very, very important thing you mentioned. Thank you for that. Now I would like to turn to Ilaria. Because EIT has a strong regional focus in the innovation ecosystem, so thanks to EIT RIS, which I would like you to elaborate a bit on, and what types of skills and knowledge are needed to support innovation based on these EIT models.
Yeah, the EIT-RIS, which stands for Regional Innovation Scheme, is a scheme that started 10 years ago. We have actually just celebrated last week our 10th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Here in Budapest. So it was a very successful event that took place last week. And, you know, what this is all about is about reducing the innovation capacity divide. We do know that in Europe we have several different areas. We do have, you know, countries that are top-level innovators, but we also do have countries that are defined as modest or moderate innovators. And we need absolutely to ensure that we can tap into the incredible potential of all these countries. We need to make a critical mass. We cannot afford to leave anybody behind, because from these countries, an incredible innovative potential can come. And we need to make sure we tap into it. As also Draghi was saying in his recent report, inclusiveness and really ensuring that all the countries can contribute to our joint innovation effort is key. And the EIT has been working on this since 10 years, establishing hubs in all the different, in all these countries, with already, you know, some important, an important impact result. To give you an example, today, in the last couple of years, 40% of the total EIT grant has been attracted by these countries, which is a very good result, showing that things are starting really to change. We are currently supporting 3,700 ventures in these countries alone. We have trained 170,000 learners here, and we have almost 1,000 partners that are already part of the ecosystem. But what I would really like to point out is the importance of the place-based approach, because this is really what the EIT is very keen on and is the uniqueness of its approach. We need to be there. We need to be in the territory with these countries. That's why we have been opening local hubs where the KICs are all present there in order to support local innovators, because you need to be aligned with the needs of a certain region. You need to understand what is required there, what kind of approach, what you need to push, and above all, you need to be aligned with the regional specialization strategies in order to really leverage on the capabilities of the region, and on the other hand, see where you need to, let's say, support where the weaknesses are. So this is basically, I think, the most important aspect of RIS.
Thank you very much. I see in what you just described that this might be one of the possible ways how to tackle the brain drain that we experience in Europe. Basically, if I really make it super simple, if I simplify it, maybe you oversimplify, that people are going from the east to the west. So is this, let's say, regional presence and regional focus something that could stop this brain drain and really establish these countries as also attractive and fostering their own ecosystem?
Absolutely, that's the objective, but we need now to go to the next level, because our first 10 years were very much focused on setting up the ecosystem, on skilling people, on supporting startups, but we need now to really push these ventures to be able to grow in a very relevant way if we want to keep people here, you know, because this is then, at the end of the day, we need to, and this is already happening with the connection that we are creating between, for example, Eastern Europe countries and Western Europe countries, connection at the level of, you know, venture capital funds, investments, the visibility that we are giving to these companies. Many of them, coached, nurtured by us, are then successfully applying to the EIC, for example. These are the type of synergies that we want to create and that we want to see on the field.
Thank you so much. I would like to see every European country to be emerging player in the space sector, especially of course, from my personal interest. But I would like to, well, connecting to this, turn to László to finish this this discussion, because you already mentioned that you are working with the industry. And speaking of challenges and opportunities, I would like to ask you if there were any challenges in integrating the new space into these programs, or if you can maybe tell us some lessons learned, what we could learn from you in integrating, because you already said that it's a successful model, while you send job-ready graduates to work in the space sector already. And how can universities better collaborate with the industry?
Yes, so I see everything from my viewpoint, from the education viewpoint, so sorry for that. But the new space is really interesting because roughly it means that private companies are entering into the space sector and trying to do something like NASA or ESA or other big space companies or space institutes. I see from the student sides that young students are willing to establish small or micro business companies in order to do something that is related to space. And of course, they do not develop rockets for launching a big satellite or so, but there are a lot of possibilities also in Hungary. So I should mention that here, however, Hungary is a very small country, you know. We have more than 100 companies in Hungary who are dealing with some aspects of space. And again, from the viewpoint of education, there are a lot of education programs that are trying to pay attention of the students, you know, to the direction of the space. So there is a program in Hungary for elementary school students as well already called Space Buzz. Anyway, the name is not so important. And you know that also there are ESA programs for students like for the CANSAT, for example, or the ISARO program, or later for higher education, there is a REXUS and VEXUS programs. Maybe there are something who is familiar with this. So we try to support students to join small space-related programs, and we try to prepare them in order to go to the industry later. When they graduate, go to the industry and having already some experience with real space programs. So right now we have a student team. They will launch a rocket within the support of the ESA that is called the REXUS program. This rocket will fly up to 100 kilometers and perform some space-related measurements. And this program is really like a complete space program in ESA, of course in smaller level, but we try to do it so that I hope that our students are really prepared for the industry.
Thank you so much. I think that this is really, I personally find it a good way how to go to, on top of theoretical knowledge you get from university, you get some hands-on experience already during your study. So I think that this is really important. And before concluding the panel, I would like to ask if maybe some of you have any question to us, to the panelists.
Thank you very much for the interesting discussion. Fun fact, it's a cool coincidence that David and Ilaria are sitting next to each other, because in September in Latvia we had the Cassini hackathon. The company that won our hackathon now at the end of November won in EIT Jumpstarter in EIT food category. In relation to this question, my pain in the space sector is that even though space is a very horizontal industry, and space satellite data is a very important source for digitalization, those entities that are responsible for digitalization, for example, they say you may use satellite data, but they do not proactively develop this as an option. So my question to you, what do you think would be, in your opinion, more impactful if we approach space more horizontally, so making space an integral part of everything we do, for example, part of EIT Digital, part of usual engineering courses, but giving it a space dimension, or to give more power to space verticals, to some institutions dealing specifically on space? So what would gain us faster and bigger impact, in your opinion?
Asking too?
If we have time, very interesting to know your opinions, like of everyone.
Okay, I can start by giving, the replying to you from a non-expert of space, but from my point of view, I think you need a little bit of both, actually. My dream space would be to see Space Kick one day, That is, you know, the vertical, let's say, and the really putting together all the key players in this sector and having this kick or this partnership really interacting with all the other kicks, exactly in the way that I said before, and that is happening already within the existing kicks that are really cross-fertilizing each other's with projects, with skills, with education programs, and so on and so forth. I think this would be the ideal space.
Yeah, I would say that, yeah, we need both. I completely agree. What we can see over the last few years is a drastic change. Before, when the association, for example, take our example, wanted to interact with institutions, it was not easy, let's be honest, except with a few, with the GVFIS, obviously, because we had the mandate. We wanted to liaise with other DGs. They were quite silent because they didn't understand exactly what space was really about. But I would say 2 or 3 years ago, it completely changed. Now we are contacted by the DGs to say, okay, can you give us a statute of the Earth observation capabilities nowadays? Because thanks to the Green Deal, they have to update a lot of different strategies and laws and so on. And so it's a game changer. And we can see that there is really a new avenue for space. And the connection between the providers, let's say, information providers and users through the different institutions is really moving forward. So I'm quite positive on this future.
Just to add, maybe it doesn't? Oh, nice. So from the Commission side, it was in the mission letter to Commissioner for Defense and Space, Kubilius. We are working on a space data economy strategy to really support the use of space data. But I always think that we need to go in the way of capacity building. So basically teaching everybody that there is something like this and you can do it with it. Because it's very dangerous from our position to say, okay, do it like this, nobody likes that. So it's very dangerous, and I think that more effective way would be actually, there is this opportunity or possibility, try to use it, try to think about it, because it might be cheaper, it might be more effective, more useful. So that's, I think it's the way we should go. László, if you want to add something.
Maybe we should mention that in our everyday life, we are always using space data and space devices. Sometimes we do not know it, but probably this microphone also connected to a satellite. I'm not sure, but so but in our life, so I would like to mention maybe the Starlink system that brings very close to our life, the space application, and space will come closer and closer, and that's the fact.
Thank you very much.
I see that we actually have to 14:35, so I think that we have still place for one short question, if anybody would like to ask.
Yep. Okay, so thank you very much. My question really is to you, David, but maybe also to Emmanuel. The conference is about smart specialization, so have you in the Commission or in the association had done a mapping of the specialization of the space industry in Europe and the specific subsectors of it? Because the idea of smart specialization is we can't all be good at everything. So I know you said, David, I'd like everyone to know about space. I understand that. But is there any sort of geographic strategy on Europe for space?
Thank you for the question. So I know that there is one, let's say, group of regions. It's called Nereus, where it combines the regions that are strong in space. As you're saying that not all the regions could be very strong in all the specializations. So obviously we know about these strong regions, and mainly how it works is that there is a base of, I don't know, you have Occitania in France, you have Airbus center there, or you go to Barcelona, there's also a lot of big prime maritime companies based. So that's where usually these regions attract the talent. So for example, also Bavaria, in Munich, you have DLR there, the robotics section, so they also attract a lot of interesting people. So these regions usually are defined by the industry, let's say. But I think that we don't have really any commission planning or commission mapping of these. But we are aware of where these regions are. Or maybe if Emmanuel wants.
Yeah, my reply will be really similar to yours. In fact, we are at EARSC not super familiar with the smart specialization, clearly. Skills was clearly defined for a long time as a priority. Smart specialization, I took a note during the last 2 days, a lot of notes, and some things that we should do, and we have to do soon, because I see a lot of value in this regional aspect, and we will make use the platform that have been displayed this morning, for example, to identify priorities. We're glad to use ChatGPT to help us. But the thing is that, yes, we are working a lot with other associations which have a better anchorage in the territories. You mentioned Nereus. Clearly, it's a key partner for the association, and we partner with them on a regular basis to go there and to advocate for the use of the space. And we partner as well with EARSC, which is more at the national level for space agencies. So this is the way currently we are going, but definitely we will work on it.
I noted that there might be one more question, if you excuse us.
There was 2 comments. One is a quick comment that there is an S3 observatory where you can find all this information out. And you said you didn't know how to find it out. We had a presentation this morning. So I'm sorry, you pay for it and you don't use it. So I think that's the other point I'd just like to make. We're talking about smart specialization. We've mentioned Draghi, the industrial strategies coming up. I've just counted, and come back to a colleague at EIT, there are 9 KICs. There are industrial alliances, there are IPCEs, there are missions, industrial ecosystems, InvestEU, 35 thematic platforms. Do we need a smart specialization in strategies?
Sorry, I didn't get the last part.
I was just saying there are so many strategies, and you just said you're coming up with a new strategy. Have we got too many strategies? And isn't that one of the issues that Draghi is bringing up in the Heiter report? We've got too many strategies. And your colleague this morning said we need a new strategy from DG Employment. So obviously these strategies are not working.
If I may, I think I would disagree on this one, because in the space sector, I actually think that this is something we need to have a strategic approach to the use of space data and really to foster the use of it. So if you allow me, I wouldn't agree that we have too many strategies in that, and especially in the space sector, because this is fairly a new sector that there is not even a space law or anything. So this is really a uncharted territory, which I wouldn't say, okay, we have to attack it with all the regulation we can. But I would say that this actually makes sense to do something strategically, to actually reinforce what we have, to try to go forward in more organized manner. Because, as I said, the space industry is still fairly small, so we kind of know what's up there, and we know what we need or what we miss. So I think that having a strategy, and especially in the use of space data, would be extremely useful and helpful.
Can I add something? To me, I think your question was very much on the spot, but I would say that the problem is not too many strategies, because of course we need to have some kind of long-term planning and way to go on the several different sectors. But the problem is more on the fact that we have a lot of instruments at EU levels that are not coordinated with each other. So that's the point. They may have their own, each one their own strategy, but as long as there isn't a common orchestration of those strategies, this is where the weakness is. And Draghi has pointed out perfectly. So you know, we as EIT are really advocating for more synergies. For example, ourselves with the EIC and with the EARSC. We will soon publish our position paper, and this is the call that we are making. Guys, you know, we need to work together, because when we do, you can see the results. You can clearly see them. I can give you a couple of examples of wonderful companies that have been growing and nurtured by the EIT in the very first early stages. And then we managed to get them to the EIC, and they won the EIC. And then now there are companies that are almost unicorns, if you like. But unfortunately, this is just too few exceptional cases. Why? Because we do not have a coordinated strategy and governance. That's the point. So I totally agree with you that something has to change, and I really do hope with the new FP10, this will be the common fil rouge to get there, let's say.
Thank you so much. I see that there is still a question. I don't know if we are allowed to take one more or if we are too long. Okay, so very
brief question, like dealing with specialization and competitive advantage. I wanted to know, what is, according to you, the European competitive advantages in space matter vis-à-vis the US or even China right now? And why invest so much in space? If there is, so what is the justification behind that? What is the European competitive advantage?
I think that, well, we have a lot of data that Europe is traditionally quite strong in space sector. Of course, the level of investment from the US is incomparable. But let me give you one interesting figure that, for example, last year in 2023, we had the same, comparable amount of investment, but the ticket size is very different. So, the number of investments made in Europe were comparable to the US, but they were investing much more. And I still think that European space industry, although we've lost our autonomous access to space, but we are regaining it very slowly. But I still think that there is a big potential in the European space sector. Of course, we have a lot of competition, especially in the US and China, as you mentioned. But we have a lot of like-minded countries like Japan, where we try to foster the collaboration with them. And our European space industry is quite strong in some certain let's say, domains. So I still think that there is a lot of potential, and also the thing which I should have mentioned in the first place, European Union actually owns its own satellites. So the Galileo and Copernicus constellations are owned by the EU. And to give it in the context, European Union doesn't own much, but its own satellites. So really we need to foster the use of it, because the space data produced by Galileo and Copernicus are for free for everybody. So we just need to capitalize what we have here, and we have excellent basis which we should build on. And with that, if I can conclude, thank you very much. I just very briefly, 3 key takeaways I take from this panel, which I enjoyed very much, I have to say. So first one, it's a continuous exercise, this capacity building and education. I think that we need to continue and do it even more. The second point, it's a collective effort. We really need to foster this collaboration, but not only industry, academia, and institutions, but also interdisciplinary. So it is really a collective effort. And the third thing is there is a lot of opportunities in the future. And as I invited you, have a look at Cassini.eu for Commission initiatives. Have a look at EIT. Have a look mainly for Hungarian-speaking people, but interesting program at the University of Technology and Economics in Budapest, and also have a look at EARSC. Thank you so much for that, and we can continue discussing if you'd like later.
Thank you.